Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby.
You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on America's soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. How you doing? Appreciate you tuning in. Rolling in from Joel's chat and all that. Watching the Bond Network. Getting down. Now it's lunchtime for some, a little later for others. But thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, and I'm happy to be with you, back with you today, because I got some stuff to get into. Maybe even a little clearer. I'm seeing the light, folks. Maybe a little bit. And so I'm happy to be back. About to get into it. I see calls waiting, 888-775-3773. If you want to jump on the line and speak with the Anchor Baby, I know you got many things on your mind as well, right? So thanks. Hello, Rumble. Hello, DLive. What's up, everybody? Rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. DLive.tv/Gorgonzola. Legend says the blouse ain't even sparkly. Games for Rec with the deep, deep lore. Thank you for that. Right on. What do y'all know about radicals? What do y'all know about strategy of the enemy and grand conspiratorial things? What's up, Mama Tried? Never seen that name in the chat. Someone messed up Knit's compass. Someone may have tuned in Saturday. What do y'all know about the tactics of the enemy, the strategies? Do you know? Are you learned? Have you read? Have you done your Googles on what the enemy is up to? Free radicals? No, wait, hold on. That's something else. What you know about that? What you know about radicals? Rules. They say they have rules. Imagine radicals having rules. What a concept. Hey, it's true they do, and they're effective. We'll talk about that. Look, what do you know about cloward-piven? There's a story going around. Front page revolver, shared by Alex Jones on Twitter. And they're saying he shared a bombshell clip revealing how we're in the final days of the Democrats' cloward-piven strategy. Maybe some older learned Republicans in the chat who've been in the thick of it for years may actually know a little bit about this, especially if you were all in the Obama years. You know me, I appreciate people informing the American Anchor Baby on American politics. But, I wasn't paying attention back then. But they call Obama a radical. And from what I've seen, he truly is. Okay? I mean, he believes in racism. How radical can you get? They call people conspiracy theorists. This guy believes in racism. How off the deep end can you get? Am I right? So, Alex Jones shares bombshell clip. Front page revolver. They're informing us of the Democratic strategy. It has a name. Cloward-piven. Who is Cloward? Who is Piven? Who are they? Here's the little clip they shared. I shortened it a little bit. Let me play for you what's got people talking a little bit.
It's called the cloward-piven strategy.
Look it up. Fact check me on this. It was first proposed in 1966 at Columbia University by a professor named Richard Cloward. And you know who went to Columbia? President Obama. Yeah, he went to Columbia. It's a strategy to speed up the fall and collapse of capitalism by systematically overwhelming the government systems with a flood of impossible demands. And it ends up pushing society into a crisis and an economic collapse in order to, get this, bring down America and the entire capitalist system. Now, this cloward-piven strategy teaches people how to overwhelm the system with massive spending, entitlements, and debt. Now, in the 1966 article, Cloward and Piven, that was his wife, they charged that the ruling classes, the rich, used welfare to weaken the poor, and that by providing a social safety net, that the rich were basically holding the poor people down. They were preventing them from rebelling. They said in the paper, quote, poor people can advance only when the rest of society is afraid of them, end quote.
The communist strategy laid bare, not even hiding it. Thanks, Lone Nick. Appreciate that. Weak pop. Laid bare the strategy. Whoa, right? Cloward-Piven. I mean, it sounds a lot like today. Without even having to get into, did Obama really go to that school? Was he really taught by, who's really doing what? Because are you really gonna get into an argument about that? There's no mystery here. This is all openly spoken about. This Cloward, Richard Cloward, this Francis Piven, married, husband and wife combo. Very interesting stuff there. There's no point in arguing with that fact, right? They spoke about it openly. So I guess the question becomes, instead of, well, you're an off the deep end conspiracy person, the question becomes, well, are these people and ideas implemented and leading the way? The conversation changes. So it's going around. They got the clip. Bombshell, they say. Revolver informs the people that back in 2008, American Thinker published an article that brilliantly connected the dots between Obama and the radical left. So it's not a new thing, but it is gaining some traction and going somewhat viral with in the current era of X and conservatives and stuff. And they make these connections to Obama. And I find it all quite interesting how these people, Obama, these people with names, these people who were given authority in different places, laud people like Richard Cloward and Piven, Francis Piven, and they even call it the Cloward-Piven strategy. The very strategy is to overwhelm the system of the state so that you could take it over. It's actually an old idea. It's not that new. Cloward-Piven strategy, fancy name to slap on what's actually a little bit older. This Francis, the wife is still living today, right? The Richard Cloward is dead. The wife always outlives the man for some reason. But this fancy schmancy name is some of that old Marxism. Come on, let's be real. Crisis theory. Create crisis so you could take over, so you could take down the capitalist society, the capitalist system. It's really anti-order, anti-old order, if we can call it that. The lines of race and religion. So under this air of liberation, always it's liberating the people, liberating those who are oppressed. But we already have seen this in history. It's about me. I think I know what's best for you, which has led to a lot of insanity, right? Many dead, they say, at the hands of this kind of ideology. So the question becomes, are they leading stuff? Fair question. This old way of thinking is even older than Marxism. It's satanic. Allow me to get into this a little bit. Richard Cloward, Francis Piven, the woman he married, their whole thing, they say that the world will accept the poor's demands. So they make it a them versus us. These two professors, they talk about Saul Alinsky, a name you may be somewhat familiar with. He wrote the book Rules for Radicals. Their inspiration was this person. The same Saul Alinsky that Obama, Hillary Clinton, and their ilk talk about as well. They love Saul Alinsky too. Rules for Radicals, the man who, in the foreword or something, somewhere in the book, he praises Satan for being the first rebel. And in this Rules for Radicals that is really just like Marxism, it's just like this cloward-piven strategy. They have a set of strategies and rules. One of them is make the enemy live up to their own book of rules. And I find that so interesting because people listen to that and they think that's an anti-capitalist strategy. If we make the state live up to their own ideal of, care for the least of us, welfare, then all we got to do is make them live up to it. We put everybody on it, and then you'll see the deficiencies where the system falls short. It can't live up to its ideals, so we can discredit it. That's how Satan moves. That's how Satan moves in the home, in your marriage. Satan is getting Christians today to say out loud what they believe, what they really can't live up to. Have you noticed that? And that's how Republicans are today. That's how Christian men, and just being a man today is. It's saying what you can't live up to. And so you'll always have the radical, Satan, the woman, always with a little thorn able to get you because you've made that so important. You think that that's being saved, what you do, the things you do, the things that you don't do. I'm not a degenerate. I got married. I'm not you know what I mean? Satan loves you going out there claiming these things and not really understanding what you're saying. You almost become a controlled opposition, a pawn of Satan. Are you following me? A little on Francis Fox Piven and Richard Cloward, these two professors whose namesake is this communist strategy they say Obama and his ilk are all into. It's interesting, their lives a little bit. Richard Cloward got all into feeling bad for the poor, and he got into this topic. And this, at the time, the academic community was obsessed with the word anomie, A-N-O-M-I-E, which is the lack of the usual social or ethical standards in an individual or group. AKA, why are all these X or Y group people not following the rules? Why are they burning their cities? Why are they rioting? Why are they committing crimes? Why are they making their lives difficult? And Richard Cloward, whose father apparently was this, like, they call his father a radical Baptist minister, and they call his mother an artist and women's rights activist. What a combo. I wonder who he was closer to. I really don't know, Richard Cloward. He did end up finding this woman, Francis Fox Piven, who was born in Calgary, Alberta. So she's an anchor baby from Canada, born to Russian Jewish immigrant parents. And so they met and they agreed, I guess, and they became a team. Make the enemy live up to their own rules, says the radicals. So the reason I find this all interesting, for a number of reasons. And I see your calls coming in, 888-775-3773. A little patience, I will get to you. You know, I want to stress that how into that conclusion Cloward and Piven were, that poverty was the cause of crime. Poverty was the cause of many problems. And that's not you've heard that. You've heard that before. I don't know how popular they made it, but like I said, the academic community lauds them for this very conclusion, that poverty and anomie A-N-O-M-I-E. The cause of it is poverty. A clunky conclusion like that always, for me, shows that someone hasn't quite thought things through. Doesn't quite explain it all, right? But okay, I guess it's not meant to. Not all, but most. But I think it's a little shallow. How do you explain the people in poverty and that are living fine? So this whole thing, let me see what else about cloward-piven. An academic idea that you might read about this and think, wow, this is it right here. This is the strategy. But it's, if you're not paying attention, I think I've made it clear it's a old strategy. It's almost ancient. It seems like it calls back to the Bible almost, satanic. But anyways, you know, I look at Saul Alinsky. I look at a picture like this. I look at a picture of Saul Alinsky here, who wrote Rules for Radicals. And I look at his eyes, and I think about one of his rules, right? Hold up. Let me I feel like I wanted to say something about his Rules for Radicals real quick before I move on. Cuz I look at this face and I think about what he said about power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon. There is no defense. It's almost impossible to counterattack ridicule. It infuriates the opposition, who then react to your advantage. See how Satan plays in the mind? The threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. So not honesty, right? Not just be right, because good always wins, because you can't go wrong with right. And you notice a lot of conservatives today, they think, well, that's why the left wins, because they're just more ruthless. We have to be like them. We have to just be more evil than them. And in a sense, they're absolutely correct. That is why the so-called conservatives lose, because they're really just Democrats, weak Democrats. If only they could be more evil. Or, here's a radical one for you, so-called Christians. Or maybe what Jesus said was right. And if what's evil, what defiles me comes out of me, and if my country and nation is defiled, I'm defiled. Something's wrong here. I'm part of the problem. You know what I'm saying here? But I also look, those are interesting things about Saul Alinsky and the way evil operates, don't you think? But I look at his face. I look at Saul Alinsky's face, and I zero in on one of his rules, which I mentioned, which is make the enemy live up to its own book of rules, right? And I look at his face, and then I look at this face. And this is not, look, I got no real problem with this person. He seems like a stand-up guy most of the time from what I see. I think he's a Catholic man. He's married. You know what I mean? Don't particularly have any problem with him. But I look at Saul Alinsky's face. Then I look at this face. And I look at this face and I think, man, you're not ready. You're not ready for the radicals who are going to make you live up to your own book of rules. This is Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire. We're not going that hard on him. I'm just messing around, having fun. Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire. You heard me talk a little bit about marriage or something yesterday. Something. I see your calls as well. A little patience, okay? 888-775-3773. You heard me talk about marriage, and even some calls come in, and you might wonder what maybe you were left at the end of it like so confused. I'm so black-pilled, man. Like, what do you mean? What is a Christian man to do, Nick? I want to be married. I want to be fruitful and multiply. I want to spread love. I don't know, whatever your reason is. Why are you being so difficult, Nick? Why are you being so mean? I I got a lot of crap for that, actually. People actually reached out to me personally. Some sweethearts in the chat who were just so sweet to me turned real nasty. Sweethearts in the chat. Hey, shout out to the sweethearts. People are like, what are you just, maybe someone even called me incel or something like that. And I'm not taking it personally, but check this. But I want you to understand where I'm coming from here. And I think I'm about to make it clear for you. Let me make this crystal clear. We talk a lot of ish sometimes, especially with my callers sometimes. Talk a lot of ish. Let's say what we don't know, but let's make something clear here. Let me play a clip for you. We're going to make things clear. Michael Knowles, why am I saying you're not ready for Saul Alinsky? Hopefully you'll understand me here in a moment. Watch this clip first.
You are not going to get anywhere shaming men for not getting married.
I'm not doing something right. Hold on. Switch to this.
Way that you were gonna...
And what you were watching is Pearl on the Michael Knowles show debating about marriage. You might remember this a little bit. Let me play for you this little moment so we can get into this, so you may understand what I mean. See, people are calling me even women. They're saying I hate women. They're like, I don't know, Nick. You sound like you hate women. Watch this. It's a little sped up, but just watch.
You are not going to get anywhere shaming men for not getting married. The only way that you were going to see progress is by making the institution more fair for men and giving fathers access to their children.
But when you say make the institution more fair for men, you're saying make divorce a little nicer for men. I think divorce is the problem.
No,
not the solution.
I agree with you. I don't believe, okay, so if we could ban divorce tomorrow, great. Raising a child that's not his, it's not an uncommon thing. You know, this stuff is serious, Michael, and you are not going to see marriage return until you start enacting policies that protect men from the institution of marriage as it is today.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but we don't disagree on that.
Right. Then what's the argument for?
What marriage is, why it's still good to do, no matter what the policies. Yeah, I think marriage is still good.
Any policy.
Yeah, I think any country in the world at any time in history, it's basically good to get married. And
it's basically good to get married. Any policy, okay? And if you don't know a little bit of the argument, you know, Michael knows this. Pearl is saying, hey, it'd be nice to see people get married, but it's just not worth it anymore. And that's why she thinks men aren't getting married. And Michael knows essentially, he's saying, no, marriage is still a good thing, and men have to lead the way, even if policies are bad, even if the world is saying one thing. You got to lead the way and convince the women and all that. I think like I said before, something to be said about both those things there. But watch this part. Let's finish this clip up.
His wife cheated on him and had a kid by another man. Would I support my son divorcing? I do not support divorce under any circumstances.
So if he's raising a kid that's not his, you would support them staying together?
I oppose divorce in all circumstances.
I oppose divorce in all circumstances. It's another one of those clunky, obtuse applications of like a rule to the world. Do you follow me here? It's like, well, what is marriage, right? I thought it was something God put together. You're telling me God wants you to stay with someone who is lying to you and you feel me? Like there's probably a bunch of scenarios you could think of, but to go around saying God put that together, and the Bible says. The Catholic doctrine doesn't believe in the exception, the porneia exception of Matthew, blah, blah, blah. What Pearl is getting right about this whole thing is that it's not worth it. It's not worth it. People hear me say like, oh, you have a problem with women or something. But hear me out. It's a commentary on men, of course, that it's not worth it. Obviously, the institution is messed up. The fact marriage is not marriage anymore is also a call on the men. Men allowed it to get that way, right? So it's up to them. It speaks on what men aren't. And so what is that? What aren't men? Men aren't husband material, so to speak. Children. The thing about people like Knowles, in a sense, is that, you know, they're preaching get married, at any time, any time in history, just get married. Just be Christian. You'll convince her. You'll be a man. Just go to church. Just find a girl at church. What gets me about that is he says stuff like he like you just heard him. He basically agrees. Yeah, okay, fine. Marriage is not marriage today. So then, what is the argument? Why is anybody thinking I'm being hateful to women? Because think about it like this. Here's what I don't get about the conversation. When you hear the arguments out, you hear Michael Knowles, you hear Pearl, the statistics come out, and on a common ground they agree on is, okay, well, maybe today marriage is not what people call it, and that's why it's failing. So then they don't disagree. The people who are criticizing me, we don't disagree. We want marriage. We both want marriage. We both agree marriage today is not what it is anymore. The quality of women is low. Men have no standards. So why you disagree with me? If you agree with me that the reason marriages are failing is the behavior of men and women, that women they don't want to be wives. So then why turn around and be like, not my wife, Nick. What are you talking about, Nick? You should be right next to me saying, that's right, Nick, and that's why my wife is not like that. That's why my marriage is totally different from how all these marriages are, which is why they're all failing. If you're that one guy who's working on himself, who's overcoming the woman, I'm not talking about you, right? If you're that one guy. You feel me? You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying be mean to women. We're talking about recommending marriage, right? And I don't know, fella, I'm going to say no. Work on yourself. It's not that if you're asking me for a recommendation, no, work on yourself. Only marry a woman that wants to be a wife, that would obey. Alert, what I'm trying to say here? Newsflash, there are women in church who call themselves Christian who don't want to obey. Newsflash. And so when you consider the birth rates and all that, 50% of single women, 50% of women will be single by 2030. The weakness of men, hatred of the mother, subject to the woman, hatred of life and children. It's all there. You see, it's all a story. It's all part of this a larger story, tapestry here. I'm just saying that men have no idea what they're getting into. And they think a woman calls herself Christian. I'm a conservative now. I'm a Christian, and it's all hunky-dory. I think what the Catholics and some of these people what they're doing is I think they're overreacting to the red pillars. They're overreacting to Andrew Tate's and stuff like that. And they'll see some of these people sitting in front of the women at the whatever podcast or whatever, telling them what's up. And meanwhile, they're not married or something like that. And so they have their own judgment of the red pillars and the Andrew Tates. And so now their overreaction you see what's going on here? Am I crazy? 888-775-3773. You can call in and disagree. But I'll finish with this and get to calls. I'm remembering callers, in fact, who've called my show. Where's Brian? Brian, you in the chat? Is Brian in the chat? Just one caller that comes to mind, not singling him out, but because he called yesterday. And Brian, if you hear me, we've been talking about women, a couple of calls that you called me here. And I feel like there's something that we're realizing here. But we're also talking about I think we're both talking about things we don't know what we're saying. And being a little confusing. Maybe nitpicking a little bit. But I think this is what we've realized, or at least what I'm finding out, is that how false all relationships are, how phony women are, how truly, truly phony women are. And people hear that and think, oh, you hate women. Oh, you got to understand where I'm coming from, though. This is a whole story. That's just one aspect, one zoomed in part of the picture where the man is also involved. I'm also realizing how phony we are, the men, how phony we are, even if we call ourselves Christian, even if we say, I'm going to be a man, we still like feelings, we still like thrills. We don't say what we mean. We comfort the woman when comfort has never helped us in life. And so I'm seeing how phony we are in that. And so it's all a picture here. It's all a grand story. And we become like our mothers. We become like women. Liars, emotional. We become sweetie pies to our women. That's why women like that kind of guy, the bad boy they call him. Because in some way they've realized that it's actually more dangerous. This man that doesn't know himself, he's all sweetie pie. He doesn't even know that I'm making him feel all these things. This is what the woman somewhere deep inside realizes. He doesn't even know that I'm making him feel all these things. Yeah, that's dangerous. He doesn't even know himself. So, about loving women, you see what I'm saying here is that men don't have it either. Okay, so I'm not saying be mean to them. I'm not saying don't love them. If anything, I'm trying to discover real love here because I'm seeing the men sometimes be Mr. Leader out here. Meanwhile, getting mad, trying their hardest to be the man. I'm almost done here, about to get to calls here. What I'm finding out is that what Jesus was talking about has nothing to do with marriage. And in many cases, marriage and the woman is in the way. What Jesus, loving your enemy, overcoming the ego. And I'm noticing how men who even claim they want to follow Jesus, that they just want a wife. They just want a mama. And you know what? We heard Jesse say once, marriage is for people in the fallen state. Marriage is for people in the fallen state. And I'm saying right now, if you ask me, I wouldn't recommend marriage today just because of how women are and what marriage is today. But you can be married and working on yourself, okay? So if you heard some of my calls, if you heard me, you can be married and work on yourself. Marriage is a fine prospect. You can't let stats in the world give you fear. You can be paying attention to yourself. But just so you know, fair warning, you're going to be paying attention to yourself. You're not going to want to do some of this fake stuff with the woman. And that's going to bother her unless she's working on herself. And that can happen. That is a total possibility. Like, it's not even a crazy thing to say, personally. So if you're dating a girl that's not going to like that, it's, she's just not paying attention. But look, if she's working on herself, she's not going to want to do all the fake love crap either. She's not going to want to use your desires, play all innocent, even though she wasn't all that innocent that other night. You know what I'm saying? I treat women nicely. I treat them quite fairly. And I'm never like, unless I want something out of them. I'm like, for example, I'd play like, if we're playing like a game where there's chess or sports, or even maybe less on sports because of the physical handicap, I don't go easy on the girls. Anyways, comfort has never helped me. There's a time and place and a level to respond to life. But anyways, now I'm rambling. Look, you understand me a little bit here? I'm just seeing how easy it is for men how common it is for men to not really mean, I guess, about overcoming the woman. What do you guys know about World War II planes? Listen to this real quick, and then we'll get to calls. Back in World War II, there were researchers at Columbia University. Hey, there's a call. Anyways, it's thematic. Researchers at Columbia University during World War II were examining war planes that came back, that survived, essentially. Warplanes that weren't shot down. They came back full of bullet holes, but they were able to fly back. And what these researchers were looking for is, how do we make a plane that's harder to shoot down? So they were looking at these planes and noticing everywhere where they got shot, okay, well, obviously that's where we must reinforce. But one researcher realized a fallacy that was happening with this researcher. This one researcher noticed that people were ignoring all the planes that were shot down. Well, why were those planes shot down, and how come these planes got here? And so what they concluded is that the planes that were coming in, let me read it. The researchers at Columbia University, they examined the damage done to the aircraft that had returned from missions and recommended adding armor to the areas that showed the least damage. Now, you would think you'd want to put armor where the most damage was, but here's the reason why. The bullet holes in the returning aircraft represented areas where a bomber could take damage and still fly well enough to return safely to base. Therefore, the researchers proposed that the Navy reinforce areas where the returning aircraft were unscathed. See, the reason the other planes didn't make it is because they were shot in the places where the planes that did make it weren't shot. So that's where you got to reinforce it. This is called survivorship bias. You're hearing stats. You're hearing everyone's lives. You're hearing people calling my show and all that. You got to live your life. You got to go out. You got to live your life, okay? You got to live your life. And I have fear because you heard a caller on my show or heard me ponder about marriage or read some stat, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Why don't we get to calls here? Let's see here. Appreciate the patience, callers. 888-775-3773. Nit making my head hurt with his complicated logic, and here, maybe I'm not making sense. Victor, California, you're on the air. Appreciate it.
Hey, what's up, Nick? I actually can understand you perfectly, how you jump from topic to topic. So.
What a mess.
Right on for that.
Maybe you're as crazy as me.
I am, if not crazier.
Well, go on, sir. I'm just messing around.
It's a good thing because God made us all different, right? So the reason I'm calling in is you have a listener. I heard him last week. He was concerned about, the Muslims and people sharing their beliefs, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm calling to, reach out to one of your listeners, right? I listen to all you guys. I know JLP. I follow what you guys do. And I'm calling to direct a certain emotion. Not emotion, but a certain viewpoint. You can't worry about Muslims, right? And I know this firsthand. I would go to a restaurant with friends, and there would be Muslims cooking the food, and I wouldn't eat it, right? Or I would yell out the window.
Why? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I'll get to that.
Yeah, I'll let you finish.
This is the whole point.
My bad.
Oh, no problem. The question is why, right? Why did I feel that way? Or I would yell out the window at some women with burqas on, just, with disgust for them, right? Because they're not going to heaven. They're doing the wrong thing. They're going to get what they do to other people in their own way, right? So it is not what Jesus would promote. And I learned this over years of, becoming a young man. When I did all that, I was in my early 20s. Now I'm in my early 30s. And so you have to be comfortable with change, right? Change is inevitable, right? And so when you hear, I haven't heard this, but I know it's going around the country now that Muslims have on loudspeakers their religious chant songs, right? So it's, what am I going to do, right? And what I've done recently is understand that you have to be teachable in the ways of Christ, right? So Christ teaches in Matthew chapter 22 to love God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind, and love your neighbor, right? So if you're, say, I love my neighbor, but yet you feel uncomfortable with Muslims, it doesn't make sense, because you have to feel with people. You have to feel comfortable with people, even if they have a different belief. So,
have you ever been
out to that caller?
I understand. And some of that, I'm following you somewhat here. It sounds, I'm following, don't let me put words in your mouth. Are you saying that we should be comfortable even though things are changing around us? Because you describe yourself noticing, having this feelings over a Muslim, well, their head covering, they're not going to heaven, da-da-da. You saw that in yourself, and you saw that that's not what Jesus taught. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, but it took me years to understand that, right?
I understand that part.
Taking me years.
I think I understand that part. It sounded like you said that's why Christian or whatever, people need to be okay with change. It sounds like, let me ask you like this. Let me put it like this. Have you ever been, I don't know, at an ATM at night and some homeless person was around you or someone was around you and you were uncomfortable?
Yeah, of course.
Now, were you judging that person? Are you going against what Jesus taught for feeling uncomfortable? Now, let me, before you answer that question, Why did you feel uncomfortable in that situation?
Well, it wouldn't be so much of a homeless man, right? I would feel more uncomfortable with a group of black men, you know, when I'm down in Hunters Point, or so I live in the Bay Area, or if you're down in Richmond, right? And you know where you're at, right? You're not in a PetSmart with dogs and people around. You have to be aware of your surroundings, right?
Correct.
Now, and that's the thing where be aware of your surroundings is where I'm at today.
Absolutely. So in that scenario you described, being aware of your surroundings, you're aware of this group of black men that you described. And why are you aware of those?
Not
right, but
but
we're talking about the scenario you brought up, and I don't have any problem with the scenario you brought up. By the way, I too would have my wits about me in the very same scenario. Now, why would you have your wits about you in that scenario? Why is it in this hypothetical that you are a little bit more aware because there's this group?
Because I've been punched in the face with two black guys.
So you have prior evidence or experience to draw on. So whether you're right or wrong for drawing on that, would you call it necessarily evil or judgmental?
No, because if you have a desire to protect your own life and to protect others, that's okay.
Now, don't you see that some people are feeling that way about Muslims, about wanting to protect various things, whether it's their individual safety in a more visceral moment that's happening right now, or in a grander sense, like your culture, religion, and etc.
Yeah, but you don't protect your personal beliefs with violence anymore,
Fair enough.
You have to be able to open up a book and read and understand the Quran, right? Are you willing to even open up their book and read what they believe?
I'm willing to get into that. I'm so willing to get into that. But before we even get into, did this person even read the Quran before saying those things about Muslims? You said about those types of people that they are going against Jesus. But it sounds to me like you do similar things, and I don't think you think you're going against Jesus when you feel uncomfortable for whatever, I wouldn't even call it a judgment, but whatever discernment you have made in your mind about whatever person is around you. Sorry about the run-on sentence, but are you following me here? It doesn't sound like you see yourself as going against Jesus when you do that.
I think we're getting away from the reason I called, right? Because I'm calling to be more focused on the concept of understanding that people believe in different things, and it takes a matter of understanding this person believes in something else. How do I communicate with them in the right way, right? Because it's not about, me behind an alley about to be in a fight. Okay. Or, it's not, I'm not calling for that. I'm calling to learn and to express hey, you need to use your words like a sword in a sense where it's like, hey, okay, if you're a Muslim, why is that the Quran talks about Jesus Christ, but there was no eyewitnesses, right? And when you use your words as more weapons rather than fists, right? Fists are only so good. Right? So that's why I'm calling to
and for
reach
what purpose
out to one
here?
of your callers. And
for what purpose here are you in this scenario where you're speaking to the Muslims and just use your words? Let me read your book and talk to you. What are you doing all that for?
To share the gospel of Jesus Christ to the best of my ability.
Well, I think I understand you, man. Yeah, I think it's, in general, you should just be like that with all people. Just talk to people normally. Just be a normal person. Let me try to convince people. It's like, hey, okay, you're a Muslim and you believe in this. Well, I don't need to be Bible thumping in your face. Let me just talk to you like a person, and you don't need to be Quran thumping. I get you. It's just what got me is that you said people have to be okay with change. So it almost sounded like that the people, it almost sounded like the people here in America, and you're right, people shouldn't have fear over the Muslims either, but it almost sounded like you're saying that the people here in America are wrong in some way for not wanting
let me ask
this
you
change.
This, right? So when Jesse Lee Peterson decides to retire, right, or do something like that, change is inevitable, right? My Muslim neighbors are very nice people, right? And when I came into their neighborhood because I moved here, right, change, it's ever so present, right? And you have to be able to be teachable to the change, right? So Jesus in many ways, is saying love your neighbor as you would love yourself. Whether it's a Muslim, Hebrew Israelites, or just a good old white boy that has some chickens like me, right? Where I appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah, no, I think I understand.
Are you willing to be teachable? Oh, yeah, man. Like, I love your guys' shows, and have a great day.
Can I ask you one last thing before you go?
Yeah, of course, man.
Do you think the people, if there's people in the world who are maybe they just don't want to learn and be teachable of other cultures, are they wrong for that? Or are they may I think I see what you're saying. They may find themselves in a lot of issues. They may find themselves obtuse in a changing world and causing more problems for themselves maybe. But are they wrong for that though? Are they wrong for not wanting to learn and change or whatever?
Well, being wrong is a individual. Like if I'm to say you're wrong for talking so much on the radio and you should go pick up a shovel, right? It's not. Everybody's different, right? So me, what I do, I'm a construction worker, right? And today I have the day off. Is it wrong for me to say that you guys are on the radio and talk all day about whatever you want? No, because that's what you do. Everybody has their own ways of seeing what right and wrong is, but it's about understanding what Christ would try and teach us to be like.
Well, I think I'm following Victor. Appreciate your call, man. Yeah, people shouldn't be afraid. People should not be afraid. 100%.
Oh yeah, and so one quick total side note, I had some really heavy turbulence, and then like a couple weeks later, I saw your flight. I'm like, this guy flying around in planes, and I was in real bad turbulence, man.
Yeah,
I had a good laugh about your flying.
You got to send those pilots back on some mandatory pilot retraining.
No kidding, man. You guys have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Call me again.
Cool.
Oops, sorry about that, Victor. I'm just asking questions for my understanding. I don't even know. I don't know anything. Lawrence, Idaho, on the air, sir. Appreciate your call.
Hi, yeah, this is. I was listening to another show, but this one here is when you were speaking about Obama, and predominantly what he was doing was attacking the system is Obamacare.
Yes,
and he had control of the House and Senate. And this other caller from another show prior to you was trying to defend him, saying, "Oh no, he didn't raise the debt. Oh, he raised the debt forever." And he was saying, "Oh, the House is the one that has the purse." Correct, but also Obamacare was passed because Obama had control of the House and the Senate. So if the House has control of the purse, Obama didn't veto anything. He spent us into oblivion. We've had presidents before that did as well, but he just went after everything.
Wow.
And then I'm a vet.
Mm-hmm.
And this one caller was saying, "Oh, the part, like trying to defend Obamacare for veterans." And I'm a vet, and I've got the VA. That's not Obamacare. Obamacare kind of destroyed the veterans. It hurt our VA. And no, we're not homeless. And this guy was trying to say so many are homeless. I've got so many veteran friends that are not homeless. And we're the ones that actually go out there and put our life on the line so people like he, who was not a vet, could have the freedom of speech. And the freedoms, and so many of our veterans have passed, of course, died for the freedoms that we have. To come out and use us saying, trying to compare us saying we are homeless was absolutely wrong. Obama's was against everything, even veterans, if you really look at it, because it hit us hard. There's a lot. I mean, we veterans like our freedom. We like our firearms. We like our Second Amendment. We like everything that we had about our country. So many of us do, and he was against everything that we stand for. Most of us stand for what I stand for, what so many veterans do stand for. But
interesting, man.
Just bringing that up.
No, thank you, because I think about what you're saying here, and I can almost draw a line from some of the things you're saying to one of these rules for radicals. They call everybody else what they are. They'll call people who just want normal, marriage. Hey, man and woman. They call them hateful, ridiculous, right? Ridicule is the man's most potent weapon. They'll Obamacare. See, look, I'm such a great person who cares about the people. Go on. Sorry.
No, you're right. You're dead on. You're dead on. And they're attacking every institution that there is. They're attacking marriage, if you really look at it. And they're doing it through, I mean, you're bringing up female. The marriage, you're going on different topics, but marriage is another one that's going on it. They're attacking every institution. Marriage is a biggie. Liberalism is attacking marriage, big time. It's gotten into. I just had cataract surgery, and they're asking me questions. And the first one of the questions he says, "Were you born a male?" I'm like, "Excuse me? No, I was born a dog." 1 out of 5 people are male, transgender, or female, dog, cat. It's driving me nuts. And then he asked me if I was born a male. I'm like, and they have to ask this because they want to get paid by the insurance companies. Insurance companies, he said, and what I was informed, demand that they ask these questions.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, geez, give me a friggin' break. It's like, just give me what I've gotten. And like I said, I'm a veteran, and they took care of me, and they're taking care of my eyes. But for God's sakes, I'm not homeless. I own a business. I work hard. I've got so many friends that are ex-military. Yeah, there are some that hurt. But I'm also, there's so many that I'm sober in AA 37 years, and I'll be darned if there's so many that are on the streets that are alcoholics. Most are. Most have problems with
Why do you think that is?
Of addiction. Because of what the system is. The system is like I said, they're attacking every institution. And they're making it to where there's no hope in this world. They've taken away hope. They've taken away love. They've taken away everything. They've destroyed. The ladies aren't the same as they used to be. I mean, for gosh sakes, back in 1912, you didn't even see their ladies' ankles, for God. Now it's like they're wearing floss, if that. They've taken, I mean, now it's like marriage is, shoot.
What is marriage today?
I speak to so many young men that they say they want a good woman, and I said, so what's up? And he says they can't find one. And I've spoken to many, and they can't find a good woman.
What do they say? Do they describe? Do they have any descriptions on what a bad one is and what a good one is?
Women, I see them all the time. I walk into grocery stores. I walk everywhere. And married women are freaking by themselves, dressed promiscuously. What are they dressing for? Their husband that's not there? Or are they dressing for outside attention? I go on Facebook. I hate being on social media now because they come at me and I'm like, oh, you've got some of the sickest, ugliest men as your friends. Oh, they're just friends. I'm like, give me a break. It's like nobody's. If you want a relationship, if you want a man that's going to be loyal and faithful, you don't dress like a slut. You're not going to attract. If I want to attract, it's what you kind of. If you're going to attract somebody good, you got to be good.
Well,
you're not going to attract that right kind of person.
Well, ladies, some simple things, What are you attracting with all those slut uniforms? Right on, Lawrence.
Look at we're attacking Russia and all that stuff because Russia doesn't want any of this mess that's going on. But they show some of their dancing and all that stuff. Look at the ladies that are in Europe, in Russia, even Ukraine, but in many places. They're friggin' classy. A lot of men are going outside this country because the women in this country have become sluts.
Hey, I hear you, man. Well, right on. Little simple conclusions there. Don't need to be called complicated. You might be attracting the wrong people with with everything you're wearing. Well, right on, Lawrence.
Well, yet a lot of our men are dressing around wearing these baggies and they come basically from prison attire or skinny jeans, and I'm like, gosh, man, you can't even move. A lot of our men are not working. A lot of they destroyed. Like I said, they're attacking every institution because even the men aren't men. They don't go out hiking. They don't go out hunting. They're busy on games. They're busy doing a lot of things that they're not even. Man, when I grew up as a kid, we played hide.
But you just said they're not get. You just said there's nobody to marry. So why give them crap for hunting for doing what they're doing? You know what I mean?
No, yeah, because a lot of men.
What are they?
want to find
It's not like they
something
have
else if they're not
families.
getting what they want.
It's not like they have a wife. There's no, like you said, there's
No.
nobody to marry.
They're looking for happiness in other ways.
So watch TV, play a little video.
Really, the system
Obviously,
is
there's
really-
people taking it too far, but I mean, I don't think that's why
The
men.
system-
I don't think that's
No,
why
that's
men aren't
not.
getting
Like,
married
men
because
are-
they're playing too many video games. Okay, there's
No. So many men just don't want it. They're
right,
tired.
exactly.
They're fed up. They want loyal. A lot of men want loyalty, and the ladies.
What they want is a mama.
It's
In
all
fact,
about money too, and it's money too, big time.
all my
A lot of it.
all my friends who are way too into gaming who got married stayed gamers while married, and it's causing trouble.
Yeah,
it's causing
still are.
trouble in their marriage.
Gamers not a problem. A friend of mine is a gamer. That's nothing. That's actually they're pretty darn good. They're pretty quick with their mind. I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm saying that's where a lot of the women are thinking, and I've spoken to.
Right on.
Their excuse is there's no men out there. Men aren't being men. I'm like, not true. Why don't you try being good women? Why don't you try dressing correctly?
Right on. Always goes back to self. So true. And if you're talking to a guy, it could go back to self. 100%.
One lady said, "Oh no, once I meet a man, I'll dress different." I said, "Excuse me, why don't you dress right and then meet the man that's attracted to that? Why do you want to get? You're not going to find the good man that doesn't want that. You're going to find the man who doesn't want a relationship, the man who just wants to get to the end result. If you want to attract that good man, why don't you try dressing and acting appropriately? Why don't you stop
that might be a place to start, Lawrence. I mean,
5,000 men.
it's not ridiculous. This is just basic stuff. I mean, people don't even think about the basics. Lawrence, man, I appreciate your call.
Man, last one, really quick.
Go ahead. No, I don't know if I did that. I may have done that. And I know you guys are going to look at me like, you meant to do that. But Lawrence, if you're hearing me, I did not mean to do that. I did not mean to do that, for sincerely. Yeah. I don't know, ladies. I don't even have advice for you on how do I find the right man. I mean, some basic things here. Obviously, what do men want? Well, men want a loyal woman. And what is marriage? Well, the man over the woman. You keep those things in mind. I mean, those are some pretty basic things that are being totally thrown out. So that has its place to mention the basics. But I really don't have much more to tell you besides, hey, maybe you're attracting the wrong stuff because you're putting out the wrong energy. You're so needy. You're attention grabbing. You don't always have to be dressed like a slut to do that. But ladies, I really don't have a lot of advice for you. How do I find a right man? The correct man? A strong man. It's not looking good, ladies. Poor ladies. On a real note. Not on a real note. Poor ladies. In that, I like I said, I don't have advice for you. You got to work on yourself too. That's really my only conclusion. I don't have advice for you on that. Maybe just simple things like, if he never tells you no, if he comforts you and doesn't tell you look fat in that dress. I'm just messing around. For those who are watching Joel's Friday TV, I think y'all aren't understanding. You guys got it in your head how a man should act. And so you're not listening to Joel. He's making sense. I don't think he's saying comfort the woman. I mean, I'll let him speak for himself. I don't think he's saying comfort her. But, you could, hey, did you know you can call her fat and it not be a big deal? Put it like this. You ever see a kid trip and fall? You ever notice how they react differently depending on how you react? You run up and you cry. You're like, oh, you okay? They start crying. But if it's no big deal, it's no big deal. Honey, do I look fat? You know you look fat. Stop. Why do you keep asking me that? You see a mirror? Obviously it may not come out like that, but there's a way to do it. Do you understand what I'm saying here? There's a way to do all things in an easy, funny way. In an easy way that's not a big deal. It may not be exactly how I said it, but you understand me? It's like when a kid gets hurt. It depends on how you, if you make it a thing, like, I got to say the right thing, and how is she feeling right now? Because I got to say it the correct way, and now it's a thing. It doesn't have to be a thing. But yeah, I don't have much. Isn't that a sad commentary? But it shouldn't be sad, ladies. You got to just work on yourself just like the guys. You've heard this before. I'm not the only one saying it. But I heard this advice. I read this advice somewhere. What was it? Who wrote this? I can't remember it, so we're moving on. Let's just move on. 888-775-3773. Lin Yan Chin, I appreciate that. Wait, did I already read this super chat? I think I did. Lin Yan Chin, I don't know if I read this. Better to read the unread super chats than hear Sister Frederick L.A. flex her 76 IQ. Nobody needs her empty noise, says Lin Yan Chin in a super chat. Hey, that's a super chat. But appreciate that, man. Appreciate the support. Carver in the chat says, "Don't say it exactly how Nick said it, kids. There's a way to just speak normally with the woman, and you don't have to be you don't have to make it a big deal. Because here's the thing too. You don't really think she's ugly. Like, how do I put this? I think what some men may be wrestling with is, we're going to leave that for another day. The sun is up. This is not really the time to be taking on these topics. The sun is still up. People are eating their lunch. Folks, we're moving on. I want to talk about a little bit of this. We're talking about rules for radicals a little bit. And maybe there should have been a little bit of radicalism here in this case here. Look, Donald Trump hush money trial. You know about this. Former President Donald Trump hush money trial in Manhattan, set to hear opening arguments on Monday. They got the jurors seated in this phony trial. Truly a mess. It shouldn't even be happening. I've spoken about this in the details a little bit before. But check this out. So they got the juror sat. In this phony case, they want to go after him over hush money, and they got a jury of 7 men, 5 women. And they want to send Trump to jail over this stuff, okay? They want to jail him. It's crazy. And right before all this, though, this video comes out. This video goes around. You know, we're talking about, don't be like the left. Don't be like the radicals. Well, that's not even what I'm saying. That's not really the point. A point I was making at all. But keep that in mind as you watch this. Maybe this person should have been a little bit of a radical.
This is Kat. She runs a VC fund here in Manhattan for folks that are over 60 years of age. She was just dismissed as a potential juror. What happened? Why were you dismissed?
Because I couldn't be impartial.
You couldn't be
What?
Impartial. So when the judge asked that hand, can you be impartial? You raised your hand and you said you cannot.
Exactly.
Wow.
What? Okay. I'm so honest. I'm just an honest, right? I'm an honest conservative, and I don't even care. I don't care that Trump is being persecuted. I'm going to stay honest because it's the right thing to do. She should have read a little Saul Alinsky here, and maybe she should have been a little radical here and not raise your hand. You know, because you're supposed to be impartial. If you're going to be on the jury, you're going to take in the evidence and be impartial and be blind lady justice. But she is maybe couldn't be impartial. You know, she's at least according to Dinesh D'Souza, who posted this, may have been a Trump supporter who is being dumb. I can hardly believe this lunacy, says Dinesh D'Souza. A Trump supporter, probably the solitary Trump supporter, has a chance to serve on the jury but stands up and volunteers that she is not impartial. Promptly dismissed. The GOP is truly the stupid party.
This is Kat. She runs a VC fund here in Manhattan for folks that are over 60 years of age. She was just dismissed as a potential juror. What happened? Why were you dismissed?
Because I couldn't be impartial.
You couldn't be impartial. So when the judge asked that hand, can you be impartial? You raised your hand and you said you cannot.
Exactly.
Wow. So you just became a citizen of the United States. So that means you've never voted in a presidential election.
Exactly.
You get called to be a juror, and this is the jury that you are called to.
Yes.
What was that? Is unbelievable.
Is she laughing? I wonder what is the reporter like laughing at too? She's like, so you had every chance to protect him. So you were his one chance. It's just unbelievable, she says. I wonder what she's thinking.
That is unbelievable.
I know.
Kind of how huge this case was, how historic it was going to be.
Yeah, everybody.
What were they saying? What were you guys talking about?
About this, it's a historical case, and, this is going to define so many things. But at the same time, our job as a juror, right, is to be impartial, like to be unbiased. So it was, weird, like the whole atmosphere, like, it's such an important case at the same time.
What's important about it? What you mean historic in that this is a never before seen persecution of a president by criminals themselves, by absolute criminals who don't care about America, who've been pilfering and whatever. That criminal activity has destroyed America in many ways. That's why it's historic, right? Don't tell me that you go along with some of this. Well, a crime is a crime. And that's why it's historic. You've never seen a president, hey, a crime is a crime, justice must be done. I wonder what she means by historic, right? But that's nice, right? Fresh American, brand new American, following the rules, doing the right thing. I don't know. I feel a little radical right now. I feel maybe for this segment, I'm a radical. Personally, this is going on that jury and saying this is wrong. I don't agree with anything. Is almost tantamount to self-defense. Maybe I'm being a little bit radical right now in my language, in that I may be bending language and concepts a little bit. It is tantamount to self-defense. This evil system targeting this man for what? For doing what the will of the people. For going against the system that's against the people. This is tantamount to self-defense. You know how in a gun, you know how you wouldn't go around shooting people? You wouldn't go around shooting people. That's murder. That's violence. But if you were in a self-defense situation, suddenly, depending on the perspective, some might see you as a radical. But anyways, we're just messing around here. On the juror thing, though, Trump still may have people on his side, according to Revolver. President Trump just got some incredibly good news about one of his jurors. Apparently, good news for Trump. One juror cites Truth Social as their daily news source, and they still let this person be on the jury. Very nice. But I guess they have a questionnaire, and you're supposed to say where you get your news from. One person got it from. Let me duplicate the tab so we can both see. Looks like one person, we got one of the jurors, BBC only, CNBC only, CNN only for some of these. Two of the jurors. Hold on, no. I'm misreading this. There is one that's only CNBC. They get all their news from CNBC. And the one that gets their news from Truth Social gets it also from X. So, I don't know what to make of this, but Mr. President, if what they say, if what the fake news is saying about X and Truth Social, that it's full of anti-Semites and racists and all that, I gotta say, Mr. President, you may have one. You may have one person looking out for you on that jury. One of these people is so well informed. New York Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. But no Truth Social or X. Anyways. Wishing him well. Trying to put him in jail. It's crazy. You know they won't stop, though. 888-775-3773. Where are we at now? But yeah. Where's the box for Bond only? Nice. I get my news from Bond. Fantastic stuff. But that's Trump a little bit there on the jury. They say he's been, you know, been a PR dream as of late. What should we call it? Public relations expert. I don't know what it is. Some say these are staged in some ways. Maybe they are. Maybe in some ways, but I don't think in totally. I'm talking about Atlanta, Chick-fil-A, apparently now in Harlem. Trump going to a bodega. See you at the bodega in Harlem. And he's got a huge crowd supporting him. They're saying this is an incredible public relations, like especially at a time when you're being indicted and all this stuff. They're going after you. They're calling you a racist. You're the wall builder. You're the patriarchy. You're the you don't like the blacks, they say about Trump. But you know, they're saying this is just, despite all of that, incredible PR. USA. Harlem. We love you, Trump. Nice to see you.
Good, everything good?
Let's go. Well, you know, they say many things, right? I've never been one to be all excited about, look at the Latino vote. Look at the black vote. They're really waking up now. I'm telling you, it's really happening now. I've never been one to get excited about that because that's all false anyways. Neither Jew nor Gentile, male or female, right? Who your real family is. Things to think about. But that being said, I've never really quite seen some of these scenes, videos, statistics, etc. I've never quite seen stuff like this. I don't think it's not like, a huge wake up, but look, I don't think it's even that important. I think at least for some, people are noticing stuff. Even strongholds of, what should we call it? Even Democrat strongholds. It's hard not to, maybe a little bit. Did you know, by the way, can I throw a number at you? 650,000? 650,000 is the number of Ukrainian men aged 18 to 60 that have left Ukraine for Europe. You know, I tell you that after showing you Trump. I think Trump is, I honestly think he is the type of guy to want to work with all groups, all people, and want everybody to do well. He's a peace guy. I think he really is. Peace. He's a peace guy at home and in the world stage. And when you take this number, and 650,000 Ukrainian men aged 18 to 60 have left Ukraine. That's from the BBC. Since the start of Russia's illegal invasion, they call it, of Ukraine. citing data provided by Eurostat, the official statistical record-keeping agency of the EU. The report notes over 500,000 male refugees are currently residing in the 27 EU member states. Now, isn't that as... I know it's a large number. How many Russians have died? We'll get to that in a second, but look, all these Ukrainian men leaving, running away. But it's wartime. Don't you want to defend your country? The report note, in Germany, it is estimated that 100,000 unregistered individuals are residing in the country, while in Austria, another 14,000. What do we conclude from this? I'm getting this from Mike Cernovich because he's reacting to a lot of this foreign funding that was just approved by Congress, Republicans, Democrats, all happy, waving their flags of these other countries. You wonder what's going on. Who do they work for? And he shares these stats. I mean, what can we conclude from that? It seems like Ukrainian men fleeing this country, they don't want to fight this war. They don't want to fight Russia. They don't want to fight. They don't see a point, possibly. And so, yeah, Cernovich is kind of reacting to that, saying more will die. They don't want to fight, but we'll give them the money to keep it going, so their leaders will keep it going. Evil wickedness, Cernovich calls this, coming from the Republicans and Democrats. No other way to put it. Yeah. Panhandler Zelensky. I mean, I am wearing the Zelensky, to be fair. But that's a number. Yeah, peace. I want the peace guy back. You guys know me. You know what I'm talking about here. You know what I'm saying. I thought you might find that interesting, though. 650,000 of these men, they don't want to fight this war. They themselves don't. We're sending them the money. And you've seen them. You've seen the, elected officials? You've seen them with their tricks. It's all they're waving Ukrainian flags. They're very happy about it. I get it. Some of these people see this as a way of maintaining some sort of order in the world, because that's what when it's a talk of Russia wanting its borders secured, when we put it in terms of Russia's security, then I guess people don't really care. But when you put it like, well, this is a war of democracy. It's a war of not letting Putin go expand westward even more. He's going to go beyond Ukraine, they say. I'm just not convinced, essentially, is what I'm saying. That's really what I'm saying. And they're all waving flags. Ukrainian captured Congress. What do we call it? What am I supposed to conclude looking at this? Scott Adams and Tucker Carlson. In fact, two names kind of getting in on that very same question, that concept here. Scott Adams explains in layman's terms how the CIA captures our lawmakers right under our noses. Captures. And so Tucker was on Joe Rogan recently, talking about this intelligence agencies blackmailing Congress. Fascinating stuff. Tucker on Joe Rogan. In fact, I think I have the clip here.
No, I mean, people don't say that because they're...
What the? I knew something was wrong.
No, I mean, people don't say that because they're worried about getting punished. They're worried about...
Tucker shouldn't be speaking all fast like that, I don't think. Hey, anybody out there? come in here. Can you click the little input button? I need somebody to help me. I forgot. On the hyperdeck, you see the blue button? Okay, above the blue button on the hyperdeck 1, not that hyperdeck, that button, that one. Yes, you rock. Thank you, sir. Tucker. We're talking about Tucker.
People don't say that because they're worried about.
I must have exported it all funny. So apologies. He's going to talk a little fast, but hey, at least we'll get through the clip fast. Tucker Carlson on Joe Rogan talking about congressional capture. And this is speculation, opinion of Tucker. He makes that clear. But it's a clip going around. Pretty interesting stuff. Let me get into this. Tucker, take it away. Come on, Tucker. Boom.
No, people don't say that because they're worried about getting punished. They're worried about someone putting kiddie porn on their computer.
Right.
Members of Congress are terrified of the intel agencies. I'm not guessing at that. They've told me that, including people on the intel committee, including people who run the intel committee, the people whose job it is to oversee and keep in line these enormous secretive agencies whose budgets we can't even know. They're black budgets. They're the parents. The agencies are the children. They're afraid of the agencies. That's not compatible with democracy. Democracy is a really simple system, even representative democracy like ours. The people rule. They do so through elections. They express their preference through voting. They send their people to the capital city to run the government on their behalf. Whenever you have unelected people who are not accountable to anyone making the biggest decisions, you don't have a democracy. You have something else, another system. I would call it a tyranny or whatever you want to call it. It's not a democracy. So that's like super obvious. It's playing out in front of everyone and no one cares and no one does anything about it. People say, oh, they're compromised, they're being blackmailed, whatever. I don't have evidence of that, but I know them and they all have things to hide. I know that for a fact. And so it's not a stretch of imagination to imagine that, some committee chairman who's allowing warrantless spying on Americans to continue or whatever abuse they're allowing, knowing fully or hiding the truth about UAPs, ignoring the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023. Like, why are they doing that? It's not impossible to imagine that some guy with a drinking problem or a weird sex life, and that's very common up there, that's why they're doing it. Because they don't want to be exposed. I don't have evidence of that. I don't have proof of that.
Right.
But that's not a crazy thing to assume that could be happening.
Yeah, it's just interesting clips going around that got people thinking. What made me think about? Not discounting at all what he's saying. Like, he's just giving his opinion, right? He doesn't have evidence for what he's saying. He's just a free man talking about things he's heard and seen, maybe, and fascinating, right? You gotta wonder. There can't be there at some point. There's got to be people leading the country, looking at certain things and saying, hey, we are exacerbating that. We're making that worse. But keeping quiet for whatever reason. Keeping quiet out of fear. Keeping quiet out of Satan judging them in their head, right? Oh, well, I got my problems. So we can't be dealing with those things. And so, again, not discounting anything Tucker said. What I thought about seeing that, I'm thinking about how that's Saul Alinsky all over again. Look, make the what was it again? Make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. Make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. It's not your book of rules. When you say something's wrong, it's just like wrong. It's just God did it. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean you're not. That doesn't mean you're not. That you don't have issues. It's not holier than thou. But a lot of people don't maybe feel this way. I think about the Christian church. I think about the Christian church that would rather not speak about maybe women a certain way. They'd rather not tell people that you can overcome anger, that anger is evil, because they have anger. They would rather not tell people that they don't want to, they would rather ignore the part of the Bible that says that if you're, what is it? Something about if you really had God, you wouldn't sin. That's some pretty tough language that you got to contend with. You mean don't sin at all? That's what the Bible says. If you had God, you would not sin. But you'd rather not deal with that because, that's your life. But you're the pastor, you're the priest, or whatever. Satan, Saul Alinsky, This is why I'm saying Satan. It's Saul Alinsky, those professors from earlier from Columbia, 𝒔𝒊𝒂𝒎. They're really tapping into Satan's strategy, his playbook here. And part of that playbook is getting us to name and claim certain things. Name and claim being moral, being free of, I don't know, all these things. And judging, right? That's a big one. Going around judging like I'm better. You get me here a little bit? I think that is a big trick he's playing. And then making that important for you, that you live up to that. Anyways, let's move on a little faster here. I think that's congressional capture and Trump a little bit. All that money going around. You got to wonder. You got all sorts of people involved, right? A lot of people died. That's war. We're talking about war. Okay, but I think we could move on from this. I think we can. I want to tell you about Sheets. Congressional capture. I think we're done with all this. Look, that's what's going on in the world of politics a little bit. Politicking. But real quick, I got to show you this too. Take this in. Sheets. It's a company. Chain of convenience stores, okay? Coffee shops owned by the Sheets family. They sell custom food, beverages, okay, apparently. Maybe even gasoline. Sheets. What's going on with Sheets?
Sheets is being sued over its hiring practices. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission filed the suit this morning. It claims that the way Sheets bases employment on criminal records disproportionately screens out Black, Native American, and other multiracial applicants, and that this violates federal law. The suit does not accuse Sheets of being motivated by race when making hiring decisions. We have reached out to Sheets for comment, but so far we have not heard back.
Sheets, are you racist or not? Isn't that crazy? If you're not following, they're getting punished for not wanting criminals. They're getting punished for not wanting to hire criminals. Sheets convenience store chain hit with hundreds of outlets in 6 states hit with a discrimination lawsuit. Take this in. So it's this convenience store chain, which operates more than 700 stores. The suit alleges they discriminated against Black, Native American, and multiracial job seekers by automatically weeding out applicants whom the company deemed to have failed a criminal background check, according to U.S. officials. Joe Biden stopped by a Sheets for snacks this week while campaigning, according to AP. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission filed suit in Baltimore against Altoona, Pennsylvania-based Sheets, and 2 subsidiary companies, alleging the chain's long-standing hiring practices have a disproportionate impact on minority applicants, and thus run afoul of federal civil rights law. Remember, at the point where we are, people are have given up their own faculties of thinking and being a free thinker, so to the point where if you just show them a disparity, if you just show them there are more or less blacks in this or that field, industry, or whatever, the assumption is racism. Obviously, you've heard this before. I'm saying things have been said before, but they don't say that about sports, for example, and all that. Well, it must be because the whites are being discriminated. But that's essentially what this is. They're saying, well, where are all your black employees? I don't see enough of them. You must be racist. That is what this is. Tell me where I'm wrong. Diversity and inclusion are essential parts of who we are. We take these allegations seriously. So this is Sheets with a big mea culpa. No, we're not racist. No, not a mea culpa. They're not they're not saying they're wrong, but they're saying they're not racist, though. We have attempted to work with the EEOC for nearly 8 years to find common ground and resolve this dispute. So they've been dealing with racism for 8 years. Why do you still work with them? I don't understand this. Why are you trying to prove to the people, evil people who have judged you, that you're not racist? Big mistake. Big mistake, because now you've made it a thing. Now you've made it a thing. And now that it's a thing, you have different things going on. You got the people that you got to convince who truly have a wrong view of you. Now you got the people who are evil-hearted and would just use that against you and never tell you the truth anyways. Well, you're right. You are a racist, and that's why you got to still act this way and be sorry. You've made it a thing. Why are you making it a thing? By saying, I'm not racist. By saying all these things. The privately held family-run company has more than 23,000 employees, et cetera, et cetera. But why does it always come back to this? It keeps coming back to this white versus black thing. And then when they do, and they have the description of either side and why one side is mean to the other and racist to the other, we end up confronting these seemingly uncomfortable situations that some are unable to see clearly. Like, why are these people committing crimes? Wait, why aren't they getting hired in this case? Well, they're failing criminal background checks. Well, why are they failing criminal background checks? Well, they have a criminal background due to the police giving them one. Why'd the police give them one? Well, it seems the police have deemed that this individual committed crime and all that. And the justice system decided it. You get it. You obviously get it. But that's Sheets. By contrast, fewer than 8% of white applicants were refused employment because of a failed criminal background check. They're saying some were able to work even though they failed the background check. But everybody knows that like it's more to it than that, meeting someone and getting your impression of someone. Anyways. Those areas are white, so they hire those who are available. Living in LA is a trip, seeing white people working at fast food. I've never heard of Sheets either. Sheets. S-H-E-E-T-Z. I said it like a Canadian anchor baby. But Sheets. S-H-E-E-T-Z. I've never heard of it, never seen it. But whatever. 888-775-3773. What else about this? Discrimination lawsuit. You should be allowed to discriminate. This is an AI-generated story. Why is that cracking me up, Chris? But what else about this? Criminals. Yeah, your discriminatory practices amount to not wanting criminals working for you. Okay, don't underestimate words or how brainwashed people can be by words. Most people are not, the vast majority of people are not ordered by true meanings of words, honor, and stuff like that. No, the vast majority are ordered by seeming correct, the crowd agreeing with you, not feeling uncomfortable. All right. I got one more thing for you here. Moms, discipline, ADD. I want to say something about this real quick. I got a little story for you here in the last bit of the show here. Just checking over all my coffees here. buymeacoffee.com/anchor, baby. What's up, supporters over there at Rumble? Appreciate that. Okay. I know what you mean, Chris. I know what you mean, Chris. AI stories being so close. You know, it's just a matter of time till AI already makes like the best movie we've ever seen in our whole lives. It's just a matter of time till AI makes the best song ever, the best movie ever. The best ever. So I know what you mean, Chris. You know, they already got, and then we'll do the last thing. Since you mentioned AI, where did it go? Because I think Microsoft recently released a pretty major update or something like that. And it has to do with turning images into like moving photos, moving videos of people talking or otherwise. But Microsoft, pretty snazzy stuff. You know, they're making these pictures look like real people talking. You've already seen some of it. But whatever, I can't find it. Oh, boom, right on. There it is. Check it out. Just since I mentioned it.
Soul.
This is not a real person.
Some decisions that
this
you
started off as a picture. This started off as a still image with no voice.
Have you ever had, maybe you're in that place right now where you want to turn your life around and you know somewhere deep in your soul there could be some decisions that you have to make. Like, you know, like it's like something was decided for you.
Yeah. I showed this to Jesse and he's like, man, the human heart is too wicked to allow this to go on. But anyways, yeah, the human heart is too wicked for this to continue.
And instead of trying to make something that is done work, it's like the invitation is to make the decision.
It still looks a little
commit to
janky,
that.
but I mean, it's leaps, right? It's leaps with this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's AI, Rich. It's leaps with these in this world. But anyways, last thing here I want to get into, mom discipline. Let me show you this thread. It's a woman on Twitter talking about disciplining. Mothers, family, planes are involved. Look, so many things. Thematic. Diane Yap. The real Diane Yap. I don't know who she is, but she seems, I don't know, she's like a lady. A seemingly Asian lady, seemingly. Horns coming out of her profile picture, but whatever. You know, ladies love to talk about red flags. Oh, it's a red flag on this guy. If is this or that is a red flag. Devil horns. Why ladies love the devil horns? You guys always gotta go devil. Why never angel? Angel could be a red flag too, though. She's going majorly viral over this tweet she put out. If your child can't reliably obey the command, quiet, they don't belong in public spaces where they can bother others, especially planes. A lot of people are suddenly agreeing with this woman. I can feel it. If you subject the public to them anyway, you're an inconsiderate person, and you don't deserve to be part of civilized society. Diane Yap, laying down the law. Her kids aren't going to be crying and yelling on a plane. No, sirree. They're going to be seen and not heard, as children should be. Spare me the excuses, cut straight to the chase, and simply admit you're a bad parent who can't control your own children. Who's in charge will act like it. How old does a baby really need to be to learn the lesson? If you do something I don't want you to do, you won't enjoy the consequences. That's That's funny. It's funny to see everybody mad about this. There's something true about that. About out of control kids, especially in public spaces. I see that and I'm looking at the parents like, you guys are out of your depth. Like, something's wrong here. Where's the authority? And 9 times out of 10, I notice the man has no authority. And then the woman's response is to get mad. Well, you just got to give them consequences. That'll teach them. No, there's just no authority. Okay, it's quite simple. There's no authority. And have a little, obviously there's a situational type thing. Really, really little babies. What are you going to do? But yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's like, there's no authority there. But I find this interesting in the ways women and men react to life, I guess. In general terms, obviously. And look at this video here. Study led by University of Central Florida found that attention deficit hyperactivity disorder symptoms manifest when watching videos requiring executive brain function. Well, look at this. 10-minute time lapse of the same student. On the left, he's watching a math video. And on the right, this same student who has ADHD or whatever is watching Star Wars. Now what? Oh, no way. It's incredible. This is incredible findings. So you're telling me that I know what's going on here. ADHD kids just don't have executive brain function like the rest of us do. This is like, this has woman written all over it, but whatever. How do I know? Yeah, nobody likes boring things. You know what I mean? Like, everyone turns off their brain, so to speak. You hear it all the time, like, I like turning on that show because I just turn off my brain to it. I just turn my brain off and I could just watch Star Wars. Everybody's like that. Now imagine if you took someone, maybe someone particularly young, who was going through that feeling that, I just want to turn my brain off, da-da-da. And you told that person, oh, that's because you're sick. You have a problem with you. You have attention deficit disorder. Boom. Doesn't that tell you everything? It's like, is that what's going on with these children? Or maybe that's just a radical idea. Maybe I'm just being radical. Nick, you're telling me a whole medical community could be fooled by one little thing, something so simple like what you're describing? I think it's quite possible. Satan has done crazier things in the mind of men, but I'm not a doctor. Just a little video for you. Brain, you can't just turn off your brain. You can't just, you know what I mean though, right? People say that all the time. They say like, oh, I just want to turn my brain off to this. I don't have to think. I'll just watch this and just veg out. Crazy that a movie captures a kid's attention versus math. I don't know. Some people might see me say this and think, well, Nick, so you're going to tell me a whole medical community couldn't see something as simple as Star Wars clearly more entertaining than a math video, so it may not necessarily be a hyperactivity disorder. You're telling me, Nick, you're telling me a whole medical community is getting this wrong? I think quite possibly. I think so, yeah. Because the whole medical community doesn't even realize it's a spiritual battle. There's some that do. Star Wars does have a cool music score, though. Anyways, the new episodes were better than the reviews said. 7 to 9 did it justice. Is 7 to 9, Mr. Pink, the new ones with the, what is it? The really new ones? I did not watch Star Wars. I saw, I think, the originals not even that long ago. And I kind of get it a little bit. I kind of get the world building that is it George Lucas did. It's a whole world. It's a whole universe. And it interacts. It's alive. It's charming. It's definitely charming. There's something charming about it. But yeah, it looks like Mr. Pig is getting trashed for 7 to 9. Are those the really new ones? I heard those were woke or whatever they call it. Because I know they had like a woman Jedi. No, women can be Jedis. Okay, women can be Jedis. He's not talking about the prequels, Nick. I wish he was. ... But anyways. Charming Vasco, thank you for the super chat. Says boy/girlhood is valuable and priceless time. Thank you for the super chat, Vasco. I think I know what you mean. I think about the stages. I think about the different eras and stages Jesse describes him growing up. And I think about my life. I've had them too. There's stages to life. Enjoy them and live your life. And don't be looking at someone else's shot up warplane and think, well, I don't want that to happen to me, and have fear in your life. Right? That's the show, folks. Join me tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby. Manhood Hour, Wednesday. The Hake Report at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Joel Friday on a Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time and noon. More American Anchor Baby. That's it from me. I got nothing else to say. That's enough words in one day, huh? Enough out of me. Time to get to work. Take care, folks. See you tomorrow. Peace.